All right, so we are back on the Weight Concept presented by The Ring Magazine. Today, I am going over something called the GOATS Podcast. It features two men in the main event of September 13th. Ring Magazine, Riyadh season, TKO Boxing, or I guess Zuffa Boxing, collaboration with Netflix, Canelo Alvarez versus Terence Crawford. Those two are in the podcast, as well as, again, leading with the name of the show, some GOATs in their own right. Tom Brady, probably the greatest American football player ever. Shaquille O'Neal, one of, if not the greatest big man in the NBA ever. And Dana White, you could argue one of the greatest, if not the greatest, combat sports promoter ever. All in a roundtable discussion talking about, I guess, what it means to be a GOAT. And potentially with Canelo Alvarez and Terence Crawford, what it means for either of them to reach that status. But I don't think I've ever seen a concept like this outside of the Wade concept. No, I don't think I've ever seen anything like this for a boxing fight build-up. So let's see what happens when a bunch of GOATs sit down and talk about GOAT shit. Once not actual GOAT shit, I mean like the greatest of all time stuff. You get what I mean anyway. The breakdown. Let's go.
So guys, we know that the fight is coming up, so we're going to ask you a few questions. I hope you don't mind. So, Bud.
Shaq is leading this roundtable podcast discussion. This is so interesting. Again, I met Shaq at the Mike Tyson-Jake Paul fight. He was so awesome to me, to my dad. And I know he's a big boxing fan, but this is like a crazy crossover to me. And then Tom Brady sitting there. Dana White, it makes sense because he's going to be promoting this fight, but it's just insane to see. And honestly, a good thing to see this many high-level professional athletes / celebrities involved with a boxing build. I mean, not that the build needs to be around Shaq or Tom Brady or Dana White, but it does feel a bit more like the boxers that they're around become higher-level athletes when they're around the highest-level athletes that we consider outside of combat sports, if that makes sense.
You think you have enough power to hurt the great Canelo?
Of course. I don't have to.
Tom, what are we doing, Tom? Come on. I know you're Tom Brady. You're the GOAT. You probably got some new modeling gig lined up because it seems like you don't age after you've hit 42 or however old he is now, 45, 46. But can we get off the phone for a second? My man Bud Crawford's trying to talk his shit, all right? Don't make him go over and slap you up with your GQ-looking ass.
So Canelo, Terence is naturally the smaller fighter, quicker, more agile, but he does have a 4-inch reach advantage over you.
So many years I had so many good fights in my career, and I had the experience to adapt myself to.
This man Canelo looks like a full-on kingpin, dude. Look at that freaking Michelin Man coat. That's some Armani shit. He looks like El Capitan. You know what I'm saying? Got the wash on. Okay. Flex on him there, Canelo.
How long has this fight been in the making?
No, I never thinking about the fight Crawford. I never in my life. But that's the fun part of boxing. You never know what is gonna happen, right? I'm glad to share the ring with one of the best fighters out there, and I'm just can't wait.
Can I just say, English-speaking Canelo is a gift to humanity. This is awesome to watch because for the longest time, we didn't get a lot of Canelo speaking English at all. And now that we get him talking in full-on conversations in English, it is so sick to see because you get to see the bluntness of the way he talks. Like, yeah, Crawford's had 41 fights, but I'm elite. I'm an elite fighter. It's different. You know, he's humble in his earnestness when he talks about Crawford. Like, no, I never thought about the fight, but that's the thing about boxing is things just happen and fights you never thought about could become reality. And Terence Crawford's one of the best fighters in the world, so I'm blessed to share the ring with him. That kind of stuff is cool to see, but it's just Canelo speaking English is a gift to all boxing fans.
So even though you see a small fighter, when you look in his eyes, do you see a fighter that could possibly beat you?
No, never.
That's what I'm talking about, man. He's so blunt. Look at Bud's even laughing, dog. Bud knows. He's like, what the heck? But that's the thing is like both of them will say that. Bud will say the same thing. I look in Canelo's eyes. I don't see a guy that can beat me. He'll say the same stuff. But doesn't mean he doesn't respect him. Doesn't mean he doesn't think he's a great fighter because both of them respect and know that they're great fighters. It's just when it comes down to it, both of them believe there's no chance in hell the other one's going to beat him.
How do you see the TKO Boxing League being, obviously you getting involved in boxing and this being your first fight? How do you see it evolving over time?
W question, Tom Brady. Noted GOAT / now seemed to be boxing interviewer. I love it. He asked that like a pure media member. I don't know if there's any note cards, but damn, that was kind of clean.
The way that I'm looking at this is I'm going to start building from the ground up, looking for young talent, up-and-coming guys, putting on fights sort of UFC style. Shake Turkey has a lot of thing.
Shake Turkey again. Turkey a la Shake somehow. To everybody else, his name is Turkey a la Shake. To Dana White, and maybe he's got the right pronunciation or something. He's doing different. But to Dana, it's Shake Turkey. What the heck?
This guy is the only guy in the history of the sport that is actually invested in it. Most of these guys just take. Shake Turkey in the last 2 years has invested more money in the sport of boxing than every promoter throughout history. So I'm looking at this thing completely different than anybody ever has.
Yeah, it's very interesting. You know, we haven't really heard Dana White's thoughts on how he's going to try to reformat boxing, or at least making it his own image with what's now being called Zuffa boxing. I guess that's the name they're going to use. But it did seem pretty simple what he wanted to do, which was make it a lot like how he built the UFC. Try to stack cards with not necessarily the biggest name talent, at least not at the beginning, but the biggest potential for big fights, the biggest potential for entertainment, changing the live experience for the fans in attendance and changing the viewing experience for the people at home. The production of the shows, I'm very interested in seeing that because I do enjoy, I think like most people do that are both boxing and UFC fans, the production of the UFC seems to be, for the most part, way better across the board. They just have a better, more engaging product, whether that's Fight Week, where the way they run their press conferences is a little different, the way they do their weigh-ins is a little different. I'm interested to see how Dana makes that transition, brings that style over to boxing and how it works.
You know, he told me something yesterday that I thought was very profound. He said, every event I do, I lose money. But I just love these guys, and I just love the sport. So
that's a very interesting thing Shaq just said, that Turkey a la Shake has told him that he loses money on every single boxing event he's done. And then you heard Dana White say that, you know, Turkey a la Shake is the only guy to really invest in the sport of boxing. And what he meant was he's the only guy that's willing to take losses to hopefully in the future build gains on the sport. Whereas a lot of boxing promoters, for as long as time has gone on in this sport, have run events exclusively as a money-making profitability machine for one fight. Get as much out of one card as you can, and then either dip out of the sport, wait till the next big thing, and do it again, and do it again. And eventually that model runs out because you're putting as little money into the product as possible to try to maximize as much as you're making out of it. And at a certain point, either you get run out of the business, you don't sell the tickets you need, you don't build a stable of fighters, you don't build any sort of longevity, and then the money dries up. But when you do invest in the sport, and just like any other business really that you run, you do go into the red or you lose money. What do they say? For the first couple of years you start your business, you're not looking at profitability. And if those that make it out of there quicker, you know, awesome. But for the most part, you have to invest in the product. You have to build from the ground up. And that means losing money to hopefully build a sustainable, fan-friendly, continuous, loyal product that does over time become profitable and become massively successful based on the hard work and the money you invested into it. And I don't know of many people that have invested more money into boxing, at least recently, than Turkey a la Shake. So I do think that's something that the sport does need to give him credit for. I know it sounds like whatever because I also work for the Ring magazine, but if you can just take me out of the equation and look at it logically, that is a pretty important thing for the sport, to have consistent investment into it.
kudos to him.
Yeah, I think for any sports fan, you want to see the best fight the best, you know, and it doesn't matter what sport it is. You want to see the best in what's been accomplished and what he's done and what Bud's done, and say, all right, let's see what happens. That's the excitement of sports.
I think everybody will agree with what Tom Brady said there. You know, we always talk about boxing, the best don't fight the best. It's really just been again, boxing politics game where money is valued over competition in some cases, and in most cases where the sport is an individual one. Why wouldn't you want to be selfish? Why wouldn't you want to make as most money for the least challenging route possible? Because this is a very dangerous sport, and the more risk you take, the more that you probably leave in the ring and can't take home with you. And I mean mentally, physically, however health-wise you want to put that. So I get it, but at the same time, Tom is right. From the fan perspective, we of course always want to see a hierarchy where the best fight the best, regardless of what belt and who's paying the most purse or whatever, which is why Turkey keeps trying to invest more in the sport, to do away with that in lieu of getting the fights we want.
How would you like this fight to end?
I won't say like to. It will end with my hand rose, making history. Everybody want to know, can Terence Crawford take Canelo power? Can Terence Crawford deal with Canelo pressure? And that's why everybody want to see it, because they know how great Terence Crawford is, but they don't know how great Terence Crawford is at 168.
Terence in his bag right now. He's going third person. You feel me? But yeah, like Terence has every right to talk his shit literally here. He's being respectful and fair play, but the questions are the ones he's asking, the ones he knows are being asked. What's he look like at 168? Can he take the power? Is he going to be too small? Is he going to be able to deal with Canelo's experience over time, right? Even though Terence is the older fighter, he has, I think, 20 less fights than Canelo does, or maybe more. I think more than 20. And also, competition level. This will be the most skilled, most experienced, biggest, strongest fighter that Terence Crawford's ever faced, without a question.
I love you both, but you still did not answer the question. How do you see this fight ending?
I
And
told you.
Don't say with your hands.
I'm going.
Knock out.
I'm going.
Knock him out the
Listen.
ring.
Listen,
Shaq's trying to get that one-liner. He's trying to get that go viral moment from Bud, but he's just not that guy, right? And I think he's what he's about to say is like he's not going to go in there and be like, I'm going to knock him out. I'm going to do it in the first round. And plus, I wouldn't want to hear that, right? As much as that sounds nice as a soundbite, I wouldn't want to hear that because I don't think he believes that. And I don't believe that. I want to hear what Bud actually believes, which is, yeah, that he'll win, but not like this mystic Mac, let me predict the round, here's why, unless he truly believes that. And I don't think Bud does. I think he believes he'll get it done by any means necessary, whether that's, let's say, he was able to knock Canelo out or he gets it done by decision. Doesn't really matter because a fight is a fight at the end of the day, and all he needs to do is win.
Always in my mind doesn't exist a loss. I train, I put my best, I dedicate myself to this sport, and I'm just thinking about win to make history, and this is no deception.
Canelo keeps saying this is no deception. I'm trying to figure out what he means when he says this is no deception. I know there's some kind of translation between what he's saying in Spanish and how it translates to English. Someone said it in the comments in my last video, but I don't know what he's saying. But he said that a couple times now. There's no deception. He can't mean that. It's something else.
You said Bud only had one big fight in his career. Do you really feel that way?
You know what? If you look at his career, don't get me wrong, okay? He's a good fighter, a great fighter. I always say before I see him calling me out and won the fight and everything, I say before he's a great fighter. But if you look at his career, mention one elite fighter.
This, ladies and gentlemen, is why you love English-speaking Canelo. He's being honest. He's being real. Now, I don't know that this is necessarily, a very accurate description depending on, like, name value versus level of skill in the fighters that both he and Terence Crawford have faced at the time he faced them. So I want to hear this, but I just love that Canelo's like, name one.
Mention one elite fighter. Just mention me one elite fighter.
Bud stood up in his chair.
so Postal wasn't elite?
Who?
Victor Postal.
Yo, Canelo's a fool. Canelo's stupid, man. Watch him.
Me one elite fighter.
So Postal wasn't elite?
Who?
Victor Postal.
Who's that guy?
Oh, so he wasn't commercialized. He wasn't.
Who's
he
that
wasn't
Postal?
a great.
Who's that guy? Canelo's wildin', man. Come on. Why did Terence Crawford say Posta and not? Why didn't he say Errol Spence? Oh, no, dude. Why? That's not a bad win, by the way. What Canelo's asking for is like an elite pound for pound or elite level guy. And Errol Spence is right there.
Ricky Burns wasn't elite.
What? 40
Ricky Burns? Oh, no.
years old champion in that moment beat Mr. Posta in my gym. I saw that.
What is going on, Canelo? Canelo said, fuck it, the gloves are off then. I'm talking shit on all your opponents, dude. He was like, I will be respectful. Now he's like, yo, Postal got beat up by a 40-year-old.
Champion in that moment beat Mr. Posta in my gym. I saw that.
So Ricky Burns wasn't elite?
Ricky Burns doesn't elite. Okay.
He's just cooking these guys, man. Again, that's a good win. But what Canelo's asking for, I guess in Canelo's mind, is an elite fighter. And Bud made a point there. What do we mean? Like name value or elite? Skills versus name, but Errol Spence was the right answer. And I'm not sure why Crawford just didn't say that. Because now he's giving Canelo room to cook.
He's not elite.
It's cool.
Is there a champion?
I'm going to fight another elite
There is
fighter
a
in
champions,
September.
good fighters, but elite fighters is different. Wait.
So I'm going to fight an elite fighter in September.
Yeah. Okay.
Then we're
we're
gonna see.
gonna find out.
Then we're gonna
We're gonna
find
find
out.
out.
I mean, there's an argument for if you're the champion of the world and you're elite, and I would agree with that. But at the same time, the 4-belt system, I think, has made the champion of the world less elite, if that makes sense. And I know that sounds silly, but like when you can technically have 4 world champions at once, they're not all on the same level. Before Name Your Favorite Fighter won all the belts and became undisputed, there's a general consensus that they were better than even the guys that held the belts before they grabbed them all up, right? This is why the one world champion rule is perfect, and Dana White being in the frame makes a lot of sense here. The UFC's platform and their promotion of having one world championship does make it undisputed without having to grab the 4 belts. And I know that creates less opportunities. I'm just telling you, sometimes, yes, you're a great fighter and should be considered in the elite of your weight class if you win a world title, but that doesn't mean that they are the most elite of that division or in boxing.
And don't get me wrong, you're a great fighter.
I know I'm great.
You're a great
You ain't
fighter.
gotta tell me
You're
I'm
gonna
great.
find out. I hope
But
your
I'm talking
uncle,
about
your
elite.
uncle Turki Alashi pay you enough money because you're gonna be. It's gonna be the last.
Wee! Canelo is talking spicy. Oh my goodness. Look at Shaq sitting there like, yeah, excellent. Bud is like, what? Oh my goodness. I hope your Uncle Turkey, he said, I hope your Uncle Turkey is paying you nice because this going to be the last one. Sheesh.
That's
It
for
may
sure.
be. It may be. Maybe.
I hope he pay you enough.
But you know, after fighters fight me, they never the same. So I just hope
Yeah.
your career continue.
If you look at my
afterwards.
career, never same after me.
Canelo's kind of more right in the fact that when he does, maybe not recently. I mean, they're both kind of right. You know, Bud has fought guys that once he fought them, their careers were never the same. Canelo has retired some people as well, and after they fought Canelo, they were never the same. So yeah, that's a push. But I like that. I like we got a little back and forth there.
If you had Canelo's resume, you think they would consider you an all-time great?
Canelo got a great resume. You know, I'm not going to take it away from him. He's fought a lot of great champions, but, you know, at the age that he fought him in, you know, you know, they was already on a decline, some of them.
It's a good point. Hey, there you go, Bud. That's a good point.
He fought Laura, you know, and I thought Laura beat him, you know. He fought, you know, Mayweather. You see what happened. He fought Bivol when he went up and tried to be great like I'm doing. And, you know, he came up short.
Okay, Bud, kind of talking. Yeah, the Lara fight, people to this day still think Canelo lost. I don't really know. Close fight. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, the Mayweather fight was not close. And Bivol, you could chalk it up to Canelo trying to be at 175, which he never should have been at. But still, that's what happens when you go and try to be great. You can't get credit for the win if you do, and then not take criticism for the loss if you don't. You know what I'm saying? So, okay, Bud, cook.
How long do you hold that animosity?
It's no animosity towards Canelo at all. You know, I'm a fan of Canelo. I've been watching him for a long time. For me, it's just business, but it's the competitive nature in me to like get like right now.
You don't have to have animosity for a guy to accept a fight with him. There's been a lot of champions and a lot of battles over the years that were evolved out of respect. But as the fight gets closer, it's almost human nature to develop, I wouldn't say animosity, but like Bud is saying, a competitive understanding of the danger in front of you, and that if you are not mentally and physically in the right space, that person on the other side of the ring can not only just beat you in a boxing match, but can hurt you and potentially change your life physically. So that is one of the dangers if you're not mentally locked in, and maybe some animosity rises from that or just a heightened awareness of the situation, but you don't have to hate the guy you're fighting. At this level, you really don't. It's just about competitive, who wants to be the best and who wants to have the greatest legacy, really.
For both of you guys, where does this fight rank in your careers?
It's gonna be one of the best fights in my career for sure.
This is the biggest fight of my career.
Yeah.
We all know that.
Yeah.
It's no secret. You know, I'm fighting a Hall of Famer, one of the best Mexican fighters that come out of Mexico. You know, so the respect is there.
Yeah, I think it's pretty well known that this is, again, such a big fight for both of them, but clearly bigger for Terence Crawford because of the weight, because of the undisputed in 3 weight classes if he should win, because of Canelo and his record and his legacy and his name in the sport, all the things that Terence doesn't have yet, the name, recognition, and the things he does have, the 2-time undisputed, looking for a 3rd. He wins against Canelo. That is the solidified legendary status for the rest of his life. Like it's massive. So I agree with that.
So with 6 months to go, like with the training, when does that really pick up? And you
6 months to go. Okay, so I thought this was filmed a couple weeks ago. Did not know this was filmed 6 months ago. This is crazy long time ago. Dang. I thought this was like after the skull fight or something. This is way, way, way back.
But we know your chin is battle tested, but mostly at 147. How you think you're going to handle when he starts wielding those 10-ounce cinder blocks?
We don't know. That's the thing that excites everybody. We seen Terence Crawford hurt with Gamboa. We seen Terence Crawford stun a little bit against Mean Machine. They will say.
They will say. I love the mentality of a fighter, man. Even if he knows he got hurt in those fights, he won't like fully concede it. Like, yeah, we saw him hurt, the people said. You know what I'm saying? He can't in his own mind be like, yeah, I was hurt. Nah, that's what the people said. I was good. Don't worry.
You got people on this side saying Terence Crawford is too small. He can't take Terence Crawford power. But then you got people on this side saying, oh, well, Canelo is going to have a problem with Terence Crawford boxing.
But again, this was 6 months ago. He was still playing into the whole smaller thing. Terence is not smaller than Canelo, at least not by a margin that we should even be considering him to be like, oh, he's so small, Canelo's so big. It's more so just Terence filling the weight class. And how does he fill at 168 versus at 154, 147? These are the things I worry about more. Not, oh, you know, Terence is so much smaller than Canelo. Yeah, the power is something that'll be interesting. Like, Canelo hits you not in sparring with no gear on, with no heavy gloves on. Like, with a fight regulation glove, how are you going to take some of those punches? And obviously the goal is to not take those punches. Yeah, that's a question. And for sure, you know, we saw Canelo get outboxed by Dimitri Bivol, and granted that was at 175, and Bivol was able to take some of his punches. Even after the fight, gave Canelo, yo, you hit me on the arms. No, didn't hurt, you know? But Terence is not that big. So even if he is able to outbox Canelo, do the punches start to wear him down? You know, these are the questions, and I like that Terence acknowledges it.
That's why it's one of the best fights out there, Terence Crawford. With Terence Crawford, because
Brady on the phone again. Come on, Tom. This is only a 20-minute filming session here, buddy. I mean, I'm sure it was a little more than 20 and they cut it down, but damn. Can we line up the Gillette commercial for after? I know you got to go and do some sort of NAD stem cell skin plan, and we get it. You're a robot, but can we just wait until the podcast is over?
Do you think fighting the 4-pound smaller king does more for your career than facing the bigger menacing Mexican monster and David Benavidez?
Oh, wow. He asked about Benavidez.
You think this fight does more for your career than fighting David Benavidez?
You can see the career of Terence Crawford or Benavidez. Terence Crawford is undisputed champion in 2 weight classes, many championship fights. So he brings me something to the table. He brings me something to the table for my history.
I mean, make no mistake about it. I wanted to see Canelo fight David Benavidez. I think a lot of people did. It made a lot more sense as far as weight classes, as far as the actual lineage of the belts, the contender rightfully getting his shot. But Benavidez and Canelo didn't get it done, and you can say that's more on Canelo's side because it is. Canelo clearly chose not to fight him. But then Benavidez moved up to 175, so I'm kind of done asking for the fight. It's not a reality. And as far as the on-paper accomplishment of beating Terence Crawford, yes, Canelo can then say, I beat a 2-division world champion, 2-division undisputed world champion, excuse me. I get that part of it. And I love this fight. I'm excited for this fight. I'd be lying if I told you I didn't want to see Canelo and David Benavidez. But Benavidez is so young, he's going to have his own time. I just wish we would have got that fight.
All of us at this round table are considered GOATs. Dan, I'm going to start with you. What does the greatest of all time mean to you?
Pretty much everyone considers them the best to ever do it.
For me, I think the guy tried to beat himself.
A fighter that you can take and put in any era, any weight class, any division, and he's still gonna come out on top. So GOAT means what it means to me is inside and outside the ring, how the people view you, how the people respect you, how the people embrace you as a champion.
Not a bad answer, man. That's a pretty damn good answer. Now, again, I'd add on to what both Terence Crawford and Canelo said by, yeah, you want all those things. What Bud said is really the closest answer, but at the same time, it does stack up to who you beat, when you beat them. I don't really care about the belts. It's more so about the skills, but the belts sometimes reflect that. Overall, there is a level of outside of the ring respect, which is why Muhammad Ali is considered the GOAT and maybe someone like Floyd Mayweather isn't, even though Floyd was undefeated and fought pretty much everyone. It was at different times in their careers, and Ali had a lot of losses, but you respected his courage. You respected his bravery. You respected his willingness to go in against all odds and prove himself. Those are good GOAT descriptions. Let's see what Tom said.
When you think about that, there's an aura to different people that when they perform what they're doing, whether it's boxing or basketball or football, or when you step to the table, then everyone's worried. And whenever you've got the ball in your hands or whenever you've got the big moment happening, they all know what's going to happen too. I think when you think about certain people, you go, yep, that's the person I want in that. And everyone to think at this level is you're talking about small margins of who's a little bit better here or there, but there's certain groups of people that stand above everybody else.
Okay, Tom, I apologize for getting on you about being on the phone, because that was the answer. When he has the ball, when he's in the ring, when he's making the walk, not only do the fans know what's about to happen, so do their opponents. Talk to them. Oh, yeah. You know that feeling when Michael Jordan on a pullback dribble shoots a freaking jump shot with no time on the clock, and you as a fan think, oh shit, that's going in. When Tom Brady gets the ball with 2 minutes left in the game and they're down 5 and he's got to lead a touchdown drive, you know he's about to do it. When John Jones makes the walk to the octagon, you're like, yeah, he's about to win this. I don't know how, I don't know the fashion, but he is going to win. When Floyd Mayweather did the same, you thought, damn, I kind of want to see him get touched up, but I know it's not about to happen. That level is GOAT status.
This is going to be one of those massive legacy fights in Las Vegas. We're talking about doing, Raider Stadium, and this thing has the potential to be.
Look at Tom. Tom's like, yep, I own that team. Go ahead, bring it here, Dana.
That, to me, is what's most exciting about this event. It's going to be in Raider Stadium, the greatest stadium in the United States. And we're going to see two of the greatest fighters in.
Second greatest stadium in the United States. It's not the first best. The first best stadium in the United States is good old Neyland Stadium in Knoxville, Tennessee, folks. If you haven't been down there, go sit with 100,000 people and cheer on the Vols, man.
No, I'm just glad to be involved in these kind of fights, always on my whole career, and this is one more.
Damn, Canelo's like, yeah, this is Terence's first time here. I'm always involved in this my entire career. This is just one more. He's talking that. He's not even trying to here, but he's talking that boss talk, man.
Well, you heard it here, September 13th. The greatest fighters in the world competing. May the best fighter win. We'll see you there.
Thank you.
All right.
W. Shaq on the host there. Okay, there it is. The GOATS Roundtable podcast. Canelo kind of talking boss talk right there. Talking his shit, saying, Terence, you don't have an elite fighter on your resume. Kind of calling Terence Crawford out right there. They talked about not having animosity, but that was the first little competitive little mind game between the two of them that went down all the way back 6 months ago. I want to see more of how the ring promotes this, because I think this was a solid way to do it. Terence Crawford kind of giving it back to Canelo, saying, okay, you beat some greats way past their prime, and when they were in their prime, you didn't fare so well. So I liked this. It was their first little taste of like, all right, let's get these two face to face and see how they're interact. And now we have a press conference as this video goes out tomorrow. The last one of the three that's happened live in Las Vegas. The last one, Canelo shoved Crawford after Crawford got in his face. So who knows what's about to happen next, but I can't wait for September 13th. And I want you guys to let me know down in the comments, does Terence Crawford have an elite win on his resume? Matter of fact, what is an elite fighter? Let me know, and then what happens on September 13th? I'm starting to formulate an opinion. I'm not going to share yet, but in Raider Stadium, live on Netflix, these two will enter the ring, and then and only then, I guess we'll find out.
Hey, ride with me if you ride with me, you can slide with me if you feel like 550 on the 5 sticky, come get high with me, that's a deal, right? Ride with me if you ride with me, you can slide with me if you feel like